It's the final chapter of Mystara Terror. Hello and welcome to the Battling Barrow and another D&D Mystara campaign waffle session. It's the final. We've reached the final episode of the Mystara Terror adventure we've been doing. We started this way back in April. Around the time my players expressed an interest in doing something different other than dungeon crawling. The weirdos. So back then I decided to test the waters by running Troubling Threshold, which is set in a town and then a sewer underneath the town. And then we went to Mystara Terror, which is a sort of transitional module really back in the day. It took you from basic dungeon crawling into the wilderness. Ideal. Originally I only thought this would take a month to play, but due to us being adults, we're not playing every week. It's normally every 2 weeks, although hopefully that's going to be changing soon and we're going to be doing it every week. But it took a lot longer than planned. I did have a summer game planned that I wanted to run in the summertime. It's still summertime now. So I still do plan to run that game. Hopefully that won't take as long. But yes, we've reached the final, and what a journey it's been. When it ended, I didn't know how I'd feel. I felt quite emotional. It was epic, really, is the only way I can sum it up. I'll probably do a video later on my thoughts about the module, like a review of it. But wow, this is really living up to its waffle monker, isn't it? I'm going to shut up and let's just get on with this video. See you later. Hello, this is Kev from the future. Ooh. Oh, past now, I guess. Ooh. Anyway, this is just me during editing. I just wanted to sort of say, I forgot to mention this in my waffle, so now there's more waffle. But anyway, I tried out a new way of getting the visual element to these videos. Normally when we play the games I have to use my phone, take some pictures, or get the players to take some pictures, and that can impede in the flow of our gameplay. You know, they're just about to do something, I'm like, hold on guys, let me just take a picture. So what I did for this video is I set up some webcams. I think there's 4 webcams in total, sort of locked off, and just recorded the whole session, and at various times sort of swapped over what camera we were looking at. So hopefully you'll see gameplay, maybe hands moving and things. There's no audio, but let me know what you think of this. Would you prefer this or the pictures? Probably the next few videos might be locked off cameras like this, because I'm obviously record and edit and upload a few weeks ahead of the actual games themselves. So yeah, let me know what you think. Anyway, let's go on for the session, y'all. So we are ready to begin. The players have been in the Tarkin village for about 3 days now. They've rested, they've healed, they've learnt a bit of lore about these sort of module setting, Karamikos setting, and the Hatarkans and the Gnolls and the Treldar. And they're planning to go the next night, but it's this night, just as it reaches morning, there is a terrible scream from outside, and as they run out their hut, the village is alive in fear and chaos. Apparently some sort of monster grabbed one of the villagers, and the villagers are shouting that Katabra has come. Ranger has a look, and there is indeed a blood patch and a slime trail leading off towards the temple. That sort of puts chills down their spine for what they've got to face tomorrow night. And tomorrow night soon comes, and they head to the temple. They easily avoid the undead that are roaming the valley. The Treldar they don't encounter because they're safely locked away in their homes. And they soon reach the temple. The door outside is wedged shut, and there is a hole in the roof. Their options are to barge the door open using strength, or to climbing via the hole in the roof. The temple, they could see, was once maybe glorious and lovely, but time has taken its toll on it, and they've gone with 2 priestesses and Corferdas, the high priestess, to perform the ceremony, and she sort of lets them know that about 50 years ago there was an earthquake that ruined the temple, and so its splendour has long since faded. They decide to go the brute force way and barge the door. So Stephen makes a strength check, passes it with ease, and smashes into the door. It takes a while for their eyes to acclimatise to the gloom within, but they are greeted by the grinning visage of skeletons and zombies. And so we pretty much start with combat. That'll please Professor DM. The combat is quite a lot. There's quite a lot of zombies and quite a lot of skeletons, and they are hampered by the fact they're standing in a doorway, so not all the players can get in and make the best of their ability. So yeah, it goes on longer than what I thought, but they soon fight and win and enter the main temple. Inside the temple, it is a massive chamber. In front of them, on either side, there is a raised platform with two statues on each platform. These are again Jekyll-headed statues, and on one, on the eastern side, there is a winch with a chain that seems to go into the ceiling. Now, directly in front of them, there is a hole in the floor, and overhanging that hole is a rusty cage with a chain that also goes into the ceiling. So Ranger quickly deduces that that winch must operate the cage. The problem with getting to the cage is around it is a ring of blue flames. It's not magical, it's natural. It's flames lit by a natural gas that is escaping from around the area. There are two doors either side on this floor, which is a massive chamber, but at the far end there are steps leading up to a smaller sort of alcove area where they can see an altar, and at the back is a massive 30-foot tall Jekyll-headed statue, and this also has two doors heading off to the east and west. The Hatarkan priestesses all go up to the altar and they're dismayed. There is an indent in the altar that looks like it could hold a bowl, and this bowl is required to perform the ceremony, but it's missing. And they say when the Traldar ransacked the place, one of the priestesses that was remaining must have hidden it somewhere. So they'll prepare the rest of the ritual, get it all ready. If the players can search the temple for the remaining altar. They, at this end of the room, they begin to listen at the doors and they don't hear anything, which is strange because as they check the second door, after they check the second door and don't hear anything, it opens and a load of undead pile out. Before the door re-slams though, Ranger notices a massive undead ghoul type creature that seemed to be controlling the undead. They have a bit of a skirmish trying to protect the priestesses to do their ritual. What I've done is I've said the ritual will take 6 hours to perform when it starts, and they've really got to get it finished before the daytime, otherwise the undead will return to the temple. So I've got a bit of a time limit on the players to motivate them to get moving. So they quickly dispatch these undead. And don't enter there because they're a bit afraid of what that other big thing was in the room. So they go to the other room, open the door, and there is another big thing in this room. Now the module itself says that there's 3 of them in the first room that we've just sort of the undead piled out of. But I'm limiting it to 2 rather than 3 due to having a smaller party, and I wanted 1 in each room just to spice things up. So what these are they call them special ghouls in the module. I'm using the Ghast profile, and these control the undead within the temple. They sort of the bosses, if you like. So with that, they dispatch this thing. It's if you know what a Ghast is, it's quite a nasty thing to fight. They ultimately do it. They then decide to go into the other room and dispatch that one too. They search the rooms. The second room is sort of collapsed at one end, so they don't find anything. The first room they return to though, it's empty, but there seems to be sort of scratch marks in the floor in the far corner. So they search there and discover a secret door which opens into a passage. This, at the end, is a dead body of a Hatarkan priestess, and she is carrying the bowl that they are looking for. They're elated, they go down to pick up the bowl, but then from out the body a incorporeal ghostly form appears, and it is a wraith. a sort of wreath of the undead priestess, and after last session there is fear amongst the players. They know what this thing's capable of. They're in a confined trap space, they're nowhere near daylight, it's night time even if they go out the temple, so they're in trouble. I mean, Stephen and Ranger have weapons to deal with this. Witchy Poo, who I should start calling her by her real name as we revealed that, which is Gelfenwith? Elf name, say. Gelfenwith, she knows that she's sort of spec'd herself, as it were, to use fire spells, and wraiths are immune or resistant to fire spells, so she knows she's not going to be much help to them. It's a dangerous situation, but they've encountered one of these before, they know what it's capable of, they've got tactics, and they've learned, they utilised it, and it was amazing. So they defeated the Wraith, get the bowl, and what they don't know, if they were to search for secret doors here, there's another secret door around the chamber. But once they've got the bowl, I was expecting them to search the rest of the chamber for treasure, and Stephen kept on mentioning the temple must contain treasures, but they weren't. They were more focused on getting they knew that the Cartobra must be here. So they returned to the main chamber. Ranger sort of tests the winch and it lowers the cage. Around that hole there is all slime, so they know that the Cartobra must be down there, and maybe one way down is the winch. They examine the flames and they realise that they are not illusionary, they're not magic, they are real flames, they're hot, so getting through those flames to the cage could cause damage. So they decide to look for another way down to the lower floor to kill the Cartobra. If the ceremony is going to get rid of the undead, they need to get rid of the big monster. So rather than searching the temple for treasure, they search for ways down. They return to the main lower floor where the flames are, and search at the, or they listen at the western door there, and they can hear the sounds of undead zombie moaning behind the door. This door would then lead to another room, which would lead to another room, which leads to the secret door, which would return to the Wraith, so it does a loop. So they ignore that door and go to the other door and have a listen. They hear nothing inside, so this door they open, and they're confronted by a little room with not much interest in there, but stairs leading down. So they take these stairs down and they come across a crypt. Now it's a long crypt with pillars. I get to use my pillars again. Now if you're looking at the video footage that I'm showing, I've had to display them upside down. What I might do in the future is put a screw underneath just to give them weight, because it's such a hot day. We had fans blowing and it played havoc with some of the terrain, particularly these pieces. It would blow them over, so we decided just to turn them upside down, which is why they may look a bit funny. But in this crypt there are 3 alcoves on the west and 3 alcoves on the east wall and 2 on the north wall. Now the final alcove on the west wall is particularly ornate, but that is the least of their problems, because in front of them, coming out from the gloom, are more undead. This temple is riddled with them, and you can hear the players groan. There are a load of skeletons, there are some zombies, and most terrifyingly of all, at the back there is a wight. So combat happens, and it's pretty standard except for one bit when Wolf attacks a skeleton. So Wolf charges into the skeleton. Now the players don't know this, but this skeleton has 2 hit points left. All Wolf has to do is succeed to hit and the skeleton's dead, because Wolf rolls 2d4 plus something, so just the 2d4 alone will kill it. You can't roll lower than 2 1s. But I didn't tell them that, and Wolfie rolled to hit a natural 20, which is a crit, and we're using the Crit and Fumble table by Seth Skorskowski, and it has added such an element of fun and laughter to the game, and this is a case, so I'm going to go over. I took notes of exactly what was rolled. So Wolfie rolls on the crit table and gets a 48, which is double damage, So whatever it rolls is going to do double that, really killing the skeleton. But the skeleton must then roll on the fumble table. So I rolled behind my screen on the fumble table, and I got a 98, which is a stumble, and the opponent immediately hits you on the crit table. So Wolfie re-rolled on the crit table and got a 68 this time, which was triple damage. And I must roll on the fumble table, and at this point it got ludicrous. I think I rolled something where I stumbled and I was already dead, but this went on, and so the skeleton was really dead. I didn't take note of how much actual damage it took, but it was something like in the 30s by the end of it. It only needed 2 hit points to die, but Wolfie succeeded and really went to town on this skeleton. Now, because of this, I know they're undead, but I decided to roll on the morale table for the remaining white and zombie that was left. It was a pointless endeavour. Yes, just for people who don't know or perhaps knew, why would you watch this if you knew this is like part 20 of an ongoing campaign series and quite a long ongoing venture. But yes, just in case people don't know, I don't really run 5e standard. I run it mainly 5e, but I pull in a lot of different rules and bits and pieces from other games, and one of the or other versions of the game. And one of the things I do pull in is the morale system from Beckme. I love that. So yes, whites and zombies have morale of 12, so it was bound not to fail, but I did anyway, just to let the players know that that action had rattled their opponents. They are now free to search the crypt, and it's the ornate crypt that gets their attention, and as it should. They don't want to disturb the crypt too much. That's not their main goal, but they search around the alcove in that where that sarcophagus is, and they find a secret door. But as the secret door opens, the sarcophagus quickly opens and out bursts a mummy. Again, this is a bit of a difficult combat because 1, it's a mummy, and 2, as you can see from the footage here, there's not much room for maneuverability. So again, they have to think fast and think quick. HeroQuest fans may notice that yes, that is the HeroQuest crypt, sarcophagus, and the HeroQuest mummy. So yay. So yes, there is combat, and the mummy is dealt with. It's 4 against 1 effectively by the end of it. So whilst it is a deadly creature, they dispatch it. They've got the tools, they've got the skills, and afterwards they have a search of inside the sarcophagus, and there is a load of treasure in there. So that pips Steve's interest. He's here for the treasure. He's more like Indiana Jones, as it were. So yes, treasure, but he wants to study the ancient cultures of the treasure more so than spend it. So he's excited, and he says if this is here, the rest of the treasure must still be in the temple. Once we've dispatched the big beast, can we have a search for it, which the players agree with. Naturally, it's treasure. They descend into the passageway, and it goes down, it leads down, and it comes to a viewing chamber. Now in the module, this is blocked off by steel bars because down below is the lair of the Catawba and many tunnels. Now, yeah, as I mentioned, there are many ways down into this. You can go down via the cage, which would lead to this as well. They look up and they can actually see the hole in the ceiling, which leads to the chamber above, and they can see the hanging cage. There is in the treasure room, ironically, there is a trapdoor that would lead down into this level of the dungeon. And there is other ways down. There are passages. Now, this is obviously a false way in the module, but I thought this worked better for me, so I actually didn't mention the steel bars in this. But so there is now a 20-foot scramble down a bit of a not a sheer cliff face, but a cliff face. So we roll for it, to be fair, and they all pass spectacularly, so they all get down to the bottom. And they're at first looking around, and okay, so if you know this module, if you go via the passages, there are all sort of encounters with green slimes and grey oozes. So by doing this, they've actually technically bypassed that, but I don't feel bad about that. They deserve this entrance into this place. I mean, they're about to face the Cartobra, which is effectively like facing some Lovecraftian awful creature thing. And yes, out of the gloom from a passageway to the south, 8 tentacles burst, and then quickly followed by the biggest creature they have ever seen. The first thing that happens is 4 tentacles rush out and grab Stephen and do a massive amount of damage, and he doesn't get grappled though. These tentacles have an ability to grapple, which they fail to grapple him. But he is already down, almost down and out already. Witchy Poo, I've been referring to her for so long. Galfenwith comes up and blasts the thing with a spell. It's either Thunder Wave or Fire or what have you. I think it's Thunder Wave because this thing might be immune to fire. I can't. There was so much going on here. I apologise for not being more clear, but it was an exciting battle. She does some damage to the tentacle. She takes some out, but she's away from them, so their special ability, which we'll get to in a minute, doesn't kick in. No one notices it. Ranger takes some pot shots at it, realises that his normal arrows are just useless against this thing. Has to revert to his plus arrows, but he is rapidly running out of those. The undead have whittled those down, and obviously we're in a Lost Valley where you can restock up on them. So yes, then he's realising he's going to have to get up close and personal with his sword. Stephen goes back in and takes out 2 tentacles in his combat round, but unfortunately the special ability that these tentacles have is they squirt acid over people. Think Alien from Alien. Yes, and he has to make a dex save to dodge the acid. He manages to dodge one load of it, but the second load hits him and it takes him out. He is down for the count. But it's Wolfie to the rescue again. Now, I love doing things like this as a DM, allowing things like this to happen. Gelfenwraith has a healing potion. It's Wolfie's turn, or Ranger's turn, so we can get the Wolfie to do this. So we have Gelfenwraith make a bonus action of throwing the healing potion into the air. There's a roll for that, passes. Wolfie then has to roll again, and sort of an athletics check to jump up, catch it, and chug it down Stephen's throat. You know, would you allow this as a DM? I would, because it was amazing. You know, if the rolls failed, then there would be major consequences for this, for me allowing this to happen. But Wolfie effectively rolled a 20 on its roll to catch it, so yes, that is definitely going to happen. There is going to be, he's going to grab it and chuck it down, not with any grace, down Stephen's throat and revive him. But just because we have Stephen back, it doesn't mean it's going to be easy for the players. The combat continues, and this thing is whittling down their health, they're whittling down their spells, we're whittling down their arrows, and it's showing no sign of stopping. The tentacles again are grabbing people. Witchy Poo actually takes major damage from a tentacle and gets grappled by it. Now grapple, as you know, effectively takes that player out of the game until that thing's incapacitated, but that thing is not getting incapacitated with ease. The players are really beginning to panic now. We are next to death, we are next to being out of resources, we are next to everything, and it's getting near the wire. And it got to a point where I was thinking, oh, we've come all this way, and right at the end everyone dies. That would be so disappointing, so upsetting, but it doesn't come to that, and the players heroically kill the beast. They lay it to rest. There is an almighty cheer. They have done it. But just before the combat, in sort of a last, I think it was Stephen that laid the killing blow. Just before he lays the killing blow, he notices that there is something under the skin of the beast. So when he kills it, they cut it open, and the thing he noticed was a silver key, an ornate silver key. So they decide this must be used for something within the temple to open the door, and Stephen's obviously treasure bound, he's thinking of the treasure. So with that, they return to the temple upstairs, and now they're searching round for a secret door. They've still got a few hours left of the ceremony to happen that's going on in the background, so they've got time. There's not much more undead or anything that happens to them, and they do find the secret door at the back of the chamber, behind the massive statue. They unlock it, and inside is, well, a treasure trove of treasure. They get so much stuff. There is so much gold. Obviously this is getting shared between everyone. They're gonna, you know, Stephen's gonna get some, they're gonna get some of the gold. There's some ancient artifacts, there's tomes, there's knowledge, there's everything there, and they're elated. Now the module, again, this is where being a DM comes in handy. If you're running pre-made modules, you know, come in handy. Being a DM, you have to think on the fly and change things to suit you. The module, what it wants to do is have a conflict where when they go outside, there's Trelldar, there's Hatarkans, and they each want a piece of the treasure, and there's, you know, that, and then there's the issue of how they're going to get the treasure down. To me, that's one bit of the module I didn't like, so I didn't even bother with it. It seemed to me it would take away the elation, the victory, the joy that they've just happened to them. We've been planning this since April, this adventure, and this is the end of it. I didn't want to just spoil that elation. It ended on a bit of a downer, so I just totally didn't run it. I mean, how are they going to get it down? They've got bags of holding, they've got pack mules, they've got horses. Fine, it's not a problem. We don't worry about it. They got it down. The gold and the treasure, they've earned it. They earned it. So with that, they have the treasure. They have the ceremony complete. The Hatarkans are really grateful, and rather than doing this carrying on the civil war, I ended it on a high note where they're like, perhaps they can work better with the Trelldar and get back to a better life. There's still treasure and that left in the temple. Perhaps they can, you know, get back to how they used to be, where it was a mutual beneficial thing. The Trelldar worked for the Hatarkans, and the Hatarkans gave them benefits, cultural benefits. So I wanted it to end on a high, so that we did. We then sort of went to 2 weeks later, where they're arriving back into Threshold, feeling triumphant, feeling happy. Stephen's going to go back to the homestead with his experiences, and so he can study what he's found and write up. But you know, he's elated. He thanks the players, and off he goes. As they enter Threshold, Arthol is on the gate, and he's like, "Oh, I haven't seen you guys in weeks. You look like death," because they are still covered in slime, grime, and blood. And he sort of says to him, "Go wash up, rest up, and the next day, the Baron at the keep wants to see you." So they do, and the Baron lets them know that he has a job for him. He recognises he's almost different to how he first treated them. He almost sees them as equals, as nobles themselves. Well, they're probably wealthier than him at the moment for a start, but he talks about the troubles in the north holding up supply chains, but now there are troubles in the south. So he mentions that they obviously, the players know, they've been here long enough to know that Threshold, its main export is timber, and it exports it all round, not just Keramikos, but all round the known world. And one of its main outlets, trading partners, is at the Mingrafad guilds towards the south, an island chain, a massive island chain of merchant guilds. But just recently, trade has slowed up down south because there is a problem down south, and he has heard that the Mingrafad guilds have put out word for adventurers to help him. So he has, he says, hope he doesn't mind, but he has volunteered them to help out, and he will both Keramikos and Mingrafad will be eternally grateful. Mingrafad is offering untold wealth. So the players, yeah, they agree to this, and this is going to be our summer adventure. But that is for next time. Thanks for listening to the waffle. Stay safe. Take care.